and snap your fingers, then you lean back. All out of state, on the day they never seen that. Ain't back, throw and snap your fingers, then you lean back.
Hello and welcome to Viti Vibes TV, your one and only show for the Fijian youth. If you'd like to be a part of the show, please call us or let us know. Again, my name is Pranay Sharma and I'm your host. We are broadcasting from the unceded territories of the Kwantlen, Katzie, Silvertooth, and Squamish Nations. Moving on. Month of May is Physiotherapy Awareness Month. Physiotherapists work on your body to release pain and etc. Please remember to use them wisely because they can help you get away from every single type of pain there is. May 1st until May 31st is Asian Heritage Month. The first settlement of the Asians were brought in Canada for building and completion of the Canadian Pacific Railways in 1881 to 85. These workers were needed as labor force but not yet deemed desirable as citizens of their country. And now pretty much the whole population of Canada is 20% Asia, and the population of Canada according to the census of 2021. No show is complete without the support from our sponsors, so if you'd like to sponsor the show or any other show that we bring on a weekly basis, please call us at the numbers in our credits. We'll take a break for our sponsors and messages, and if you'd like to be a sponsor of the show, you can always give us a call at the end of our credits.
I understand how important it is to have a place called home, and it's frustrating using your hard-earned money on rent. Vic Prasad can make you a homeowner. Get pre-approved services provided to first-time buyers and new immigrants. You can qualify for mortgage even if you have bad credit. Call Vic Prasad now on 604-306-6647. Vic Prasad is associated with Craft Mortgages Canada Incorporated.
For any kind of visa-related services, contact Milky Way Immigration, a galaxy of opportunities located at Unit 209-9547 152 Street, Surrey, BC. They have licensed immigration consultants, placement officers, and LMIA experts to meet your immigration and recruitment needs. Book one-time free consultation either on Facebook or by calling 604-396-0005. Bollywood Banquet Hall and Conference Center, located at Pile Business Center at 201-8166 128th Street in Surrey. No celebration is too small to accommodate you. They have newly renovated 2 halls to serve you, up to 1,000 guest capacity, top-notch chefs to delight you with delectable and heavenly cuisine. So just call Bollywood Banquet Hall at 604-598-2700 for your events.
Benisi Mobile Detailing Services. They offer commercial trucks, cars, SUV, boats, bikes, RVs, and much more. Just give them a call at 778-808-2859. Just give them a call at 778-808-2859 and they will do all kind of services at your home.
Thank you, sponsors. Now we have our director Shannon Pramal. Please have a look.
Hello and welcome to Viti Vibes TV. I'm your director and host, Shannon Pramal. Thanks for sticking around with us yet another week. You can watch all new episodes of Viti Vibes every Thursday at 10 p.m. or catch the reruns on Sundays at 4:30 p.m. You can also follow us on our social media pages on Facebook and Instagram for all the behind the scenes and extra exclusive content for you there. And you can also watch episodes after they've been broadcasted on the Shaw Multicultural YouTube channel as well. That being said, I am back in the studio joined by none other than Shivangni Naiker here. And today, we'd like to wish you all a happy Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So we are here as Pacific Islanders here, obviously in full celebration mode. But basically, we're going to be talking about a little bit more about the significance of the month and a little bit more about our identities and what have you. So, first off, hello, Shivangni. Thank you for joining me yet again.
Of course, it's always a pleasure to be back here.
Yeah, so it's I know it's Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, but obviously we're the Pacific Islander part of this. Yeah, we're going to be talking a little bit more about that, but just to get like some more info for the people watching who might not be Pacific Islanders so they don't know exactly what it is, could you give like the rundown of what your understanding is?
My understanding of like the Heritage Month is where we celebrate and acknowledge different types of cultures, religions that are like within our like island and our like world, that are corresponding to either being a Pacific Islander or an Asian, like Indian Asian from Asia. And we get to see how each culture is different, how each culture is unique to them, and how each culture has like their own different set of like wow factors that like not everybody has kind of thing.
It's quite, our culture is definitely a unique one as well.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's so many sublets of like subcategories of cultures too within our like umbrella of what we call Asian and what we call Pacific Islander. There's so many like specifically. I'm not going to talk too much about the Asian, obviously, because I'm not going to be talking about that. I came here prepared about Pacific Islanders because we are that. But for those that don't know what a Pacific Islander is, allow me to explain. So basically, the Pacific Islands, the region actually, there's a couple regions that are split into three: Melanesia, Polynesia, and I'm missing one. What's the third one? Melanesia, Polynesia, and Micronesia. Sorry, that took a second. But basically, it defines Pacific Islanders as persons having the origins of any of the original peoples from the Pacific Islands. So this is like in the Pacific Ocean, obviously, hence Pacific. And then, yes, with three subregions, which is Melanesia, Polynesia, and Micronesia. And people who come from these regions are obviously considered Pacific Islanders. And that is exactly what it is. So for us specifically, we are Fijian, Indo-Fijian. So we fall under the Pacific Islander category through Melanesia, if I believe correctly. Yeah, Melanesia. Because it just simply depends on, like, when you're looking at a map, they're divided into, like, three, and Fiji is just, like, on the border of Melanesia and Polynesia, but it falls on the Melanesia side. So that's what that is. So yeah, even though we're not born there, obviously our roots are back from there. Our parents immigrated from there, so we're like first generation Canadians here. But our parents, they're like immigrants, so they were from there. And our history goes back to that too. But yeah, how would you like say your experience as like a Pacific Islander? Like how has that shaped you, and like have you ever like really thought about that? Like
honestly, for me, it's shaped me in a way that like I feel like I'm unique and like I'm different. So like whenever in high school anybody will like be like, "Oh my God, you're brown," I'll be like, "No, there's a correction on that because I might look like it, but I'm not because I'm from a different place than what everybody else is, kind of thing, right? And like my traditions, my heritage is completely different. So it just makes me feel unique in a way where like I don't have to, you know, be like everybody else kind of thing. I'm not trying to be mean, but like it's just like I don't want to.
No,
be like
and that's the thing.
else.
Culture shouldn't be suppressed; it should be showcased.
Yeah.
Right, and that's exactly what we are here to do.
Exactly.
But yeah, I'm glad that you're like super like it feels like you've been able to grasp like a confidence with your identity. Yeah. I know for myself and possibly other people, actually most definitely other people, going through an identity crisis in regards to our Pacific Islander heritage. That is something that I definitely I feel like everyone at different stages of their life go through it. Mine happened right when I was graduating high school. And it's like, because I was in school for so long, I didn't really think about like, oh, like I'm Fijian, I'm like from this, like that never clicked in my head. I was always so concerned about being a part of like the larger mosaic of what a Canadian is. And so I was here trying to make sure I was able to fit in with the culture, the language, the social hierarchy of within Canada. And I never really got to think about like my actual personal like heritage history. Obviously, like we live our lives like exposed to it, like the food, the language, like our parents, our grandparents, they all like are a part of this, right? However, I never really thought about like, oh, like my mom came immigrating from Fiji, had like all this history, like these are my ancestors. I never had that like thought until like when I was graduating high school, because at that point I feel like I never really had a chance to like think about like, oh, who am I as an individual? Because like as a kid, like you're so concerned about like, oh, it's me and my friends, ride or die forever kind of thing, right? So you're just like so obsessed with your friends, you never really think about being on your own. And now when I graduated high school, I was on my own. I'm like, who am I? Like, I have no idea. And so I went through my identity crisis, but I definitely got connected to a lot of other like Fijian community organizations and community leaders, community members. And that really helped me dive into the disconnect between me and my own identity.
Yeah.
And I was able to learn, I was able to connect, engage, and I think that's something I would highly encourage a lot of youth and adults who feel that they don't have a connection to people, especially here in the Lower Mainland. We have quite a few Fijians, not quite a few. We have one of the larger populations of Fijians who have immigrated.
Yeah.
So mostly the higher denser. The I'm trying to figure out what I'm trying to say, but the immigration from Fiji to other places in the world, the largest groups have ended up going to Australia, New Zealand, just because of distance.
Yeah, it's because it's closer.
Right, closest to immigrate to, so that's where obviously the numbers are a lot larger. But there's quite a few people that ended up going to the States that ended up going to Canada, and so obviously Vancouver, Canada, being the main place because it's right off the ocean, right? So a lot of our people ended up coming there. And so that's kind of why we have such a great population. And so I totally encourage people. There's so many different Fiji Canadian organizations, even here in BC alone. I believe, don't fact check me on this, but I remember back in 2016, when I was first getting involved, I learned that there was at least 48, 50 community organizations.
Yeah, there's probably more.
Yeah, obviously there's probably more now, but back then I remember there was at least 50 that were registered.
Which is great. Honestly, we have a lot of opportunities that here for people to learn and get reconnected with themselves, kind of thing. Even some places they don't have that.
I can't imagine living in somewhere like Manitoba and no obviously no hate or anything, but there isn't a large amount of our community members out there, right? Obviously. So it's I can't imagine having that disconnect because you literally don't have anyone. You probably only have your family kind of thing over there, or there's just a few people that probably are there that look like you that actually you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think in the closer in Alberta, I think there's a little bit, not a lot.
It just as you go through Canada, it gets a smaller and smaller amount. They're super dispersed.
Say in Toronto, there's probably majority of them are in Brampton, but there's probably one or two Fijians that you see that are in Brampton. There's probably I kind of googled it too once.
There's quite a few in Toronto actually.
Yeah, I googled it too. There's probably there's actually just one Fijian store there, and that's only in
and see that's the thing. It's that's crazy because here we have the luxury of having 3, 4, and that's why it's I feel I can get my din mutton anywhere I want. Right, you know what I mean? I have options.
Exactly.
But I remember I was talking to even one of my friends in Calgary. He's just there's nothing here for us.
Exactly. People from Calgary,
obviously they have their one or two, but they're we don't have anything
get as much as we do.
Exactly. So one, I'm very thankful and privileged for that.
Yeah, that's why they they just drive out here, grab their stuff,
right?
Because it's easier to get it driving other than flying.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to take stuff like that, din mutton, bongos and stuff like that back.
Where did this conversation go? Now we're talking about din mutton and bongos. Okay, back on track. Canada celebrates Asian Heritage Month in the month of May. So it's actually Pacific Islander Heritage Month is only officially a thing in the United States. So in the States, it's called Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. But in Canada, it's just Asian Heritage Month.
Oh, wow.
So how do you feel about that?
Not that great. That,
right?
It shouldn't be like that. Honestly, here, if we have majority more, Pacific Islanders, that should be with it. We get it, that there's, a larger, brown community here, but, we have the same amount of Pacific Islanders, so it should be, fair on when it comes to
I feel
the whole Heritage Month.
Yeah, having Heritage Months like that, especially because I know originally it was an Asian American month.
Yeah.
In the States, obviously, when I'm talking about this, but later on it got adopted that Pacific Islanders are attached to the Asian Heritage and Pacific Islander Heritage Month.
Yeah.
So keeping the same standard, right? I feel there needs to be some sort of
yeah,
right, because
quality.
Yeah, it's just a matter of recognizing people. You know what I mean? And I know, just having recognition is one thing to feel you have a place in society, right? And I know our community does a lot too. For the Canadian to be a part of the Canadian mosaic. Mm-hmm. So personal opinion. It's just it's only fair. But no, when I was because originally like I always thought Pacific Islander Month, May, didn't click to me that it's only for Americans.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
yeah, Canada doesn't have that, so I was like, things to think about. You know what I mean?
Government gotta change something here.
Right? But yeah, on that topic though, like talking about Asian Heritage Month, do you know why it's actually celebrated in May?
No, I don't actually.
So basically, here's the story for you guys. So the month of May was originally chosen because it commemorates the migration of the first immigrants from Japan to the United States. And that was on May 7th, 1843. And they celebrated and it's also to celebrate the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad that was done by over 200,000 Asian immigrants.
Oh, wow.
On May 10th, 1869. And then, so Asian Heritage Month has been formally celebrated since like the 1990s. In December 2001, the Senate adopted a motion proposed by Senator Poi to officially designate May as Asian Heritage Month in Canada. In May 2002, the Government of Canada signed an official declaration to announce May as Asian Heritage Month. So that's the Asian Heritage Month part of this. Obviously, a Pacific Islander Month, like I said, isn't yet. I'm going to say yet. But yeah.
Wow, that's actually very surprising.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
It does need to take a second to like process that,
Yeah,
right?
like wow. When the railroads happened, like that's a lot of like Asian immigrants that are working on.
Yeah, no, like, and that's the thing you learn about like in social studies 9, 10, right? Like about like the like Asians' significant contributions to like Canada and like the immigrants who have actually like struggled and were working under such brutal conditions to actually build these railroads. I'm sure like any youth who are currently in social studies like in high school, like you're probably learning about that. I believe that's still a part of the curriculum. I think so. Because I remember learning it, but I'm kind of old now. But anyways, why do you think it's important to celebrate other cultures such as like Asians, Pacific Islanders?
Because it's like a learning experience that everybody should have, and everybody should be aware of how everybody's culture is different, and you shouldn't categorize people based off how they look and stuff, and be like, oh yeah, you look like that, so you're brown, you look like that, so you're Filipino kind of thing. You shouldn't be doing that unless like they tell you, oh yeah, you know, like I'm Filipino or I'm Indonesian, because there's like a big difference when it comes to that. So I feel like it's a really big learning experience that everybody needs to have when it comes to that.
I can't agree anymore. Whether you are watching this as like a fellow Pacific Islander, as a fellow Asian, or if you're not even one of those, it's always everything's a learning opportunity. And this Heritage Month is definitely like the whole reason it exists. It's to educate yourself, become aware of these people, and be able to stand as allies, right?
Of course.
So that's kind of that. But I want to kind of ask you like about the identity crisis thing again, because like I know for me, like, I've always been mistaken. I've never gotten, like, just straight up, like, now it's like, okay, people would be like, oh, I like, are you from Fiji? Are your parents from Fiji? But growing up, I never got that.
I never got that, too, especially, like, whenever I go to, like, the mandir, too, like, the temples especially, they'll be like, oh, are you from Sri Lanka? Are you Tamil? Are you, South Indian?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, but my tata and pati speak Tamil, if that counts, but no.
Yeah, our ancestry specifically as Indo-Fijians go back there, right?
Yeah, I was like, but I'm Fijian, Indo-Fijian, like, in Fiji, I'm like, what, Mandraji? Like, I categorize as Mandraji, so I was like, I'm Mandraji, if you want to know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been always mistaken as, like, Sri Lankan, or South Indian, or, like, Tamil, either way.
Our roots technically do go back to there, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like, when we think about, like, we don't think of that because we feel disconnected from that, you know what I mean? So we identify as the Fijian, like, Pacific Islanders.
Like, before when I used to get, like, told that, like, oh, like, you look like this, like Tamil, I used to be so confused, but now, like, as I got older and I started learning that, like, oh, yeah, like, I do have, like, Tamil in my roots, I do have, like
way back when kind of thing,
way back, which still shows kind of, like, in my culture and, like, my household, it still shows a little
and, like,
bit.
our religious practices and our language, right?
It still shows. So it's like now when I get told that, like, oh, I look like I look South Indian, I look like I'm from Sri Lanka, I take it as a big compliment because I was like, oh wow, like, you know, like I'm showing my like ancestral roots as much as I can.
Yeah, I've always gotten confused. I've also got Sri Lankan before. I've gotten Tamil. I've also gotten like Jamaican. I've gotten like I've been confused as a couple different like black community members.
Yeah.
Or minorities. And I don't know why. I got Russian one time. I have no idea why. They said it's my eyes. I don't get it till this day. The one person that thought it, but like I don't know. Like Caribbean, obviously, like something like that, something from the Caribbean usually. But like most of the time I've always been confused as something like Caribbean or like something around there.
Yeah.
And then like either like Sri Lankan or like something like East Indian or I don't know. But yeah. I've never gotten just straight off like, oh, you look Fijian. Like,
I've gotten that once, and I was so happy that the person got that.
Right?
I was like, you know what, you made my day. And they're like, oh, you don't get that often? I was like, no, I don't.
No, right? And but the only way I ended up, like, people that actually recognized that I was Fijian would only know I was Fijian because they also knew other Fijians kind of thing. Otherwise, like, a lot of people, they still don't know. I remember I was approached by this one person not too long ago at a mall. I was just walking around. A person approached me and then like conversating and then they're like, oh, like where are you from, right? And then I'm like, I'm from here, right? I was born here, blah, blah, blah. Oh, no, like, but where are you from, right? Like your parents. I was like, oh, like they're from Fiji. They're like, where's that? What's that? I'm like, like, you know, like the vacation spot? Like that everyone goes to, the tours?
Resort?
Yeah, like they're like, no, like what is that? I'm like, it's an island, like it's a group of islands. And then they're like, where? I'm like, it's like, I always be like, oh, like, it's by Australia and, like, New Zealand. It's kind of like nearby. That's usually how I describe it, like, just to people just right off the bat.
Exactly. Like, the other day, my mom and my bati, we got stopped by, like, a group of, like, I think they were, like, international students.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, where are you guys from? And then my mom just stood there and started explaining that, like, Fiji is, like, an island from, like, New Zealand and Australia.
Yeah.
And we're like,
you have to, like, give the coordinates and everything.
You know, and then we're like, yeah, we do speak Hindi there, you know. Hindi, Tamil, and, like, native Fijian is, like, spoken there as well. And then English. They have British English. We have, like, Canadian English, which is a little different kind of thing. My mom always, like, corrects me on it. And I was like, no, it's okay. It's the same thing.
Yeah. But to wrap things up, because I know we can talk about this forever, right? Because we're just so, like, yes, Pacific Islanders, yes, our people.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and just thinking about the community as a whole, whether you are part of the community or not, you could always do things in order to educate yourself, in order to grow your awareness, become culturally aware, and stand as an ally. So some things that you could do as an individual, regardless of what you identify as. One is read and discuss literature by and about Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders during this month. That is number one. Number two, an idea is identify and learn about important peoples and events that happened for Asian American and Pacific Islander month. Number three is learn about different countries where, so for Asian American and Pacific Islander, it's just shortened to AAPI. So I'm just going to refer to that. So AAPI people have roots. So learning about where these people come from, because even though we're Pacific Islanders, we're definitely just like this much of like the whole grand scheme of Pacific Islanders. We're just one type. There's a lot of other types.
There's a lot.
And then 4, reflect on the immigration experience of AAPI community. Number 5, watch and discuss films about the AAPI experience. And explore AAPI art, learn about AAPI music and dance, discuss biases, discrimination, and injustices faced by these people, and examine the origins of AAPI Heritage Month. And those are just some suggestions that you can always do, whether it is during this month or during the year or maybe sometime like tomorrow. It doesn't matter.
You should do it all like every day, all year long, honestly. Like learning each different type of
knowledge
heritage.
is like an everyday thing. Like you always should be learning.
Exactly.
That was your deep thought for today.
School never ends.
Yeah, learning never ends.
Learning never ends.
Learning never ends. School ends.
School ends. Learning never ends.
Yeah, you could tell we're like kind of like tired too.
Oh boy.
But hopefully that made sense to everybody. But with that being said, thank you all so much for joining us again. And to all of our Pacific Islander in our community, happy Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And to all of you guys watching, thank you again so much. You can catch new episodes every Thursday and Sundays on the Shaw Multicultural channel. And until then, we'll see you all next week.
Thank you, Shannon. Remember, this is your show. If you're a youth and you'd like to come on the show and showcase yourself, or whatever you're dealing with in your day-to-day life, come on and we'd love to hear from you. A couple of events that you might be interested in attending, so please have your pens and papers ready. Culture Union 2023 will be taking place at the Qatari Hall in Ba, Fiji Islands, on July 29th and July 30th, so please get your tickets and more information by going on to the Cultural College Union page on Facebook. Alzheimer's Walk is taking place on May 28th all across BC. This is the biggest one being held in Burnaby, and Alzheimer's affects about 85,000 people in BC. Most people know, or someone that you know in your family might have lost a family member because of Alzheimer's disease or dementia. So please go out and support them at walkforalzheimers.ca. Sadly, we ran out of time for this week's show, but I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I love bringing it to you. If you had missed our show today, you can always watch it on Sundays at 4:30 p.m. and 5:30 in Alberta time. No show is complete without our support from our sponsors, so if you'd like to sponsor the show again, like I said before, please call Camille at 604-537-5123, and those numbers are again at the end of our credits. Please don't forget to watch Fiji in Focus on Tuesdays at 10 p.m., Thursdays at 2:30 p.m., and Sundays at 4 p.m. Asian Pulse TV on Wednesdays at 2:30, Thursdays at 8:30, and Saturdays at 5:30, as well as the Camila Singh Talk Show Mondays at 10 a.m. and the repeats on Sundays at 5:30 p.m. All our shows are uploaded to YouTube and all of our social media, so please like and share. And before I leave, I'll leave you guys with these thoughts. To share often and much. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is The Success by Ralph Waldo Emerson. With that being said, I hope you guys have a great and wonderful weekend. I'm your host, Viti Vibes, and I'm signing off. Thank you guys.
Ain't fat, double shot your fingers, then you lean back. All out of state, 20 days, they never seen that. Ain't fat, double shot your fingers.